This conference will now be recorded.
Great. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I now would love to introduce Greg Fenton, our performer for today. Take it away, Greg.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much. So that was Ocaria, the very lovely event coordinator at the Oceanside Library, and she invited me to come on and play. Um, and yeah, I'm very excited to do this. And like a lot of things in my life, it's on my mind. After I plan that I'm going to do it, but then I don't actually do anything for it until only a couple of hours beforehand. So all of this was sort of jumbling around in my mind. And then I thought, hey, maybe I should actually write something down and actually plan something out. So what I'm going to do with you guys is I'm going to play a couple of my original songs, along with just a couple of my original jams, original ideas that I have. And for the most part, when I play guitar, and my whole journey with playing guitar has been just sort of for my own therapy, for my own amusement. I never really wanted to perform. I never expected that I would be teaching. And I just did it as sort of kind of like a really complicated stress ball almost, or one of those fidget spinners or something. Whereas this is just a really nice way to do something and sort of get some kind of reward out of it, because the more work you put in, you get something out of it. Like you get a very pretty chord, as opposed to with math, where if I had a bunch of numbers, I did a bunch of work and then I just had a bunch of numbers at the end. Here, it's like I put in the time and effort, and then I get some kind of nice sound out of it. So the first song that I want to play is something that's a little sad in both the sound and the nature, but I think everyone's had a pretty tough year so far. It's been a difficult 2020. And for me, the last normal day that I had this year was January 25th. That was a couple of things happened that day. It was a very normal day. But my wife, Jackie, and I, we went to Brooklyn because my birthday was coming up and she wanted to treat me to a ukulele. So we went and got this little ukulele. And, I was really excited about it, but I didn't think too much of it. And then that was January 25th. And then January 26th, which was Sunday, was the news that Kobe Bryant and 8 of those passengers on that helicopter passed away. And my whole reality was just shaken, not just because I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan, not just because it was a huge tragedy, but because it's just something no one could have predicted. You couldn't have expected it. And so I named the ukulele Kobe, because I hadn't given it a name yet. And I'd been messing around on the ukulele, which was totally different than the guitar, and had my fingers moving in a very different way than I would ever play on the guitar. And because of that, I learned a very interesting trick on the ukulele that I then translated to the guitar, and I started writing something with this technique on the guitar as though I was playing the ukulele. And inspired by everything that happened with the helicopter, I wrote a very emotional song, at least I think, that I call Calabasas. And I'm going to play it for you guys. So that's a song that I'm pretty proud of because I haven't written something brand new in a while, or I hadn't up until that point. And there's a lot of things inspiring me in a nice way for me to sort of let out everything I was feeling. There were a lot of sad things that happened this year. My mother passed away, and then the helicopter tragedy, and now we're all living through this pandemic. So for me, that January 25th was the last normal day I had. And that's when I got that ukulele, kind of learned this little trick. And I started, because of that trick, I played a chord like that, chords like this, chords I had never played before. I was not inspired by the ukulele. I'm not sure why. Just playing like that was something that really made me want to work out all these kinks, like all these strange chords. And for me, even though it's a sad topic, it's nice to kind of let it out. And for me, again, this is my like really complicated stress ball. So I actually wrote something new as well, kind of playing along with an accompaniment. And this, I wrote this only about 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't have a name. A lot of my little ideas don't really have names, and this is definitely one of them. So let me play this for you guys. I'm going to accompany a track that's been arranged. How is the sound quality? Is it
Thank
coming
you
clear?
so much, Greg. Yeah, that was beautiful. It's actually very clear. It's coming in great.
Okay, perfect.
I just wanted to read you a couple of comments that came in since your
Oh,
last
sure.
song. Yeah, from the first song, Jackie said that was so beautiful, very emotional, and Deb agreed. And then for the second song, G said she liked the song, and Tony agreed. And Jackie saying the sound quality is great. So it looks like it's coming in great from on all ends. Thank you,
Okay.
Greg.
That's great. So yeah, this song I actually wrote. This is not really a song. These are just a bunch of ideas. And again, these little moments, these little things, this is just sort of a way to express myself and put whatever I'm dealing with or whatever I'm thinking into some kind of other language because I can't speak another oral language. So right, that kind of says something for me as opposed to just speaking in English. So I wrote this, I guess you could say this has been inspired by the quarantine, all of that, and it's something I'm really proud of. So now I'm going to play a different song. This is something that I wrote 9 years ago in 2011, and it's called Peace in July. And it's something that's really evolved through the years because a lot of these songs don't really get a final form. Some of them do. I'm going to play a couple later that I'm pretty sure have, met their final iteration. I'm not going to really change them from here. But this is one that just always keeps evolving and changing because, again, it kind of grows and changes with me. And until I record some of this stuff, then it will keep changing forever. Actually, in 2011, coincidentally, someone said something that I think of constantly, which is for a musician, you have your entire lifetime to write your first album, and then you have 6 months to write your second album. So me, I've been playing guitar for like I have to think about it, 16 years, and um, everything I've written up until this point, I've sort of had a 16-year head start on that first album if it ever comes out. But then I would have a very short time to come up with the second, and that's why the second is never as good as the first, which I think I saw with Van Halen pretty clearly. So I'm going to play Peace in July, and hopefully we will have Peace in July in a few months. So that was Peace in July. Um, is anyone else hearing that, or is that just me? So that song is very interesting to me. To talk a little music theory with some of the things happening, for me, I was just curious what I could do with basically two chords because that's all I'm doing the whole time is playing this first chord and then the second chord, which is almost the same thing. Physically, there's really not much going on, but has a very different sound to it. So this is a D flat chord, and then this is a G flat major 7 with a B flat in the bass. It seems complicated, but it's not. And for me, each of the chords has so much beauty, so much opportunity. Just a little double play on everything. There's only one moment that has a slightly different chord, but for the most part, it's just kind of working within the same 10 words, and then I keep rearranging the sentence over and over. So I'm going to do something a little different now. I'm going to play my own rendition of Fly Me to the Moon. I'll just do a little bit of the melody, a little improvisation with an accompaniment. The great thing about a jazz solo is when you hit 14 wrong notes in a row because you lose track of where you are, people just think you're a genius, or at least in my case, doing it on purpose. So yeah, that was my own little Fly Me to the Moon rendition. It's all coming in clear. Everything sounds good, I hope.
Yes, it sounds wonderful. Thank you, Greg. And that was one of my favorite songs, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. Barbara said that was very relaxing music. Really, Greg, you're bringing us such a lovely afternoon of music. Thank you
That's
again.
great. Yeah, for me, and I'm going to show this a little bit later, for everything I like to do, I like to try and bring something a little bit different to my music, something that's a little bit unexpected, either a chord or some kind of run, some kind of collection of notes where it just makes you think a little bit more. Not that I'm a genius or anything, I just spend a lot of time trying to find weird combinations. So now I'm going to play another original song of mine, and this is one that's pretty much set in stone. It's called Emerald, and I want to say why I named it Emerald. So I have something that I like to think is called synesthesia. Synesthesia is when one sense confuses another sense into doing something that that sense technically can't do. So, for example, if you can hear a smell, that makes no sense on the surface, right? If you could taste a sound, these are things that just don't work, right? But every once in a while, you kind of, maybe you see an old photograph of your grandma's house and you can smell the cookies, right? That's kind of like a synesthetic experience. So for me, I sometimes feel like I can hear colors. So if I play a certain chord, right, to me it sounds like either a certain color or a certain collection of colors. And sometimes I feel like I'm making it up, but then I read things from other people who also have this, and I find a lot of extreme similarities. Sometimes I even roll my eyes. I'm like, wow, it's a little too similar. What are the chances, that we would have the same experience? Like for me, an A major kind of sounds very red. And every once in a while, I see like an old philosopher or even someone in modern times, right? Like I have synesthesia with music, and A major sounds red to me, and I just think, well, maybe it's true. So I wrote a song in E major, and E major to me is very green with a lot of yellow in it and kind of like a bright emerald, maybe. So I named this Emerald, and I'll play it for you now. This is one of the ones I always mess up when I play, so I'm going to do my best not to do that. there's Emerald, and to me that is a very greenish yellow song. Um, and I can see my wife sees that I is writing that I play that song to make her fall asleep, and I do. That one always knocks her right out. Then you just gotta carry her right from the couch to the bed. Um, so I'm gonna do a little bit more jamming on some tracks. I'm gonna play one of my favorite songs ever that I'm sure a lot of you will recognize. And this is one where I always kind of try to stay true to it because no matter what kind of improv or creativity I put on it, I always think I should probably have just played the song the way it goes. Thank you very much. I can hear the roaring applause. So for those of you who don't know, that was Can't Help Falling in Love, made popular by Elvis, but written by some other people whose names I never remember, just like every great song written 80 to 100 years ago. So now I'm going to do another jam on a track that I really like to play over. This is one that really helps me find my zen, and here, let me put it on. This doesn't really have a name. None of these ideas really have names to me. They're more like feelings. And the moves that I make sort of, they say something to me, but I can't quite put it into words. Like, how do you explain the color blue to somebody who's blind, right? There's just no way. You have to see it. So for this, you have to hear it. That's just a little taste of that. A couple of things I wanted to talk about with that, because I said that I would mention some of the music theory that goes behind writing this, but when I'm just kind of talking to myself, it's harder to uh, get in the zone. So one of the interesting things that we can think about when it comes to music theory, like super basic music theory, is that there are generally 7 notes in Western music. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then do would be 8 again. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti is 7. So with the main line of that song, I play up until that point all 6 over and over again, but I make you wait for one of them. It's the note at the very end. And what happens is when you play a whole bunch of notes, the one that you leave out is the one you want to hear the most because it's the one you're being deprived of. So that line really has a lot of interesting twists and turns in it and makes you wait for the final payoff. And then when you get there, it's such a nice payoff. Another one of the tricks that I do to make certain songs poppy for me or make them really stand out is, in my opinion, the number one thing every guitarist, and I would assume every string instrument player, forgets, which is that your right hand, to some extent, controls the volume, right? A lot of people get concerned with playing faster or slower with their right hand, but you can also play louder and softer. So if I'm playing a line like this, right? All of that was the same volume, so it's not that interesting, right? But if I change up the dynamics a little bit, right? All of a sudden it becomes a lot more interesting. So one of the tricks I do is actually something I never see anyone do on an acoustic guitar, but it's such an easy trick. So if you ever want to try this, my many viewers, this is something cool that you can try, which is you can play where you normally play, but if you instead play all the way over here, it it produces a really interesting tinny sound, so you can kind of get some variety when you're playing without doing anything different at all, just moving where you're playing. So if I was playing a line like this, then I can just do it again over here. Right? And it sounds a little bit more interesting, gives a little bit of diversity to everything. So now I'm going to play another song that when I lived in Manhattan, I actually played because I feel like everyone has to try it at one point. You can't not try it. I played in a subway for a little bit. I played at the 120th Street A train, maybe? I don't even remember. And I wrote this song while I was down there. And on average, I made about $15 an hour from people throwing singles in my guitar case. And that was a fun experience when I was like 20 years old. So here, let's try this out. Let's see if I can play this one. This is another one where something always goes wrong. So I'm going to do my best not to do that. Thank you.
I wish there was an applause button that we could all press,
Oh,
like
wow.
a go-to-meeting button.
Someone's fist pumping somewhere. Right?
Oh, definitely. You're definitely getting an applause at the end of each song. It's beautiful, Greg. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
So, Aquaria, do you think we have time for a few more, right? Perhaps?
Yeah, I would say two or three more. That's good.
Okay. So I have a couple of things just like on the back burner. that because I didn't really know how long this would all go on for. Because again, can't plan anything out. Haven't been able to do that since I was supposed to study for a test in middle school. So how am I going to do it now? So I'm going to try jamming a little bit on this track, which always makes me happy. Alright, so yeah, that's a track that really always makes me happy, and that's a line that I wrote out very carefully. That main line, it really plays along with every chord, every moment, and that's something where I'm not improvising at all, right? That's something I've already worked out, but it's still something that you kind of play with, you change up a little bit. It's kind of like if you had to tell a story, something really amazing happened in your life and you have to tell everyone you know separately. You're never going to repeat it verbatim with the exact same sentence phrasing, with the exact same inflections and hand motions. It's always going to change a little bit. So I always feel like I've sort of created these stories and then they can kind of change a little depending on the mood. So let's see. I think I'm going to play think I'm going to do one more jam, mess around a little bit, and then I'll play my last song, my last original. So this is a song written by Duke Ellington called Take the A Train. And I don't know why I just felt like playing this, so I prepared it. Here we go. So that one's always fun to play on. And that's one where I really get a chance to improvise because a lot of the stuff I've been doing over these tracks is sort of predetermined a little bit, but that's one where I really let loose and try and make Duke Ellington proud in 2020. So,
Greg, I just wanted to read to you. Barbara was saying that she took the A train as a teenager to the city. She lived right near the last stop in Queens.
oh,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legendary jazz standard. Was what a lot of the things I've been playing are like Fly Me to the Moon. And I guess you can consider Can't Help Falling in Love a standard. A standard just refers to a song that was written by no one knows, right? And it becomes super famous. That's one where I know off the top of my head, Take the A Train, who it was written by. But, a lot of songs that people like Frank Sinatra and Johnny Mathis made famous, they didn't write those songs like Misty, Les Paul's How High the Moon, that wasn't written by him. We don't know really who wrote them, but they're songs that become legendary through time. People cover them, do their own renditions.
Exactly. And then everyone falls in love with them.
Exactly. Yeah, Take the A Train's one of my absolute favorites because it's so goofy. I mean, if you want to listen to a great version, there's an Ella Fitzgerald version I really like. And the lyrics, I always forget them. It's sort of like, you must take the A train if you want to go to Sugar Hill, way down in Harlem. Something kind of like, so get on the A train. You'll find you missed the quickest way to Harlem. Something kind of like that. I always forget the lyrics too. There's so much to keep in your noggin. Um,
Exactly. And Greg, just before you play your last song, I just wanted to read you some more comments. Tony
Thank
said it's
you.
absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. And Michael said amazing. Thanks so much. Great tunes and storytelling. Really, the storytelling has been wonderful in between songs.
That means a lot. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. It means a lot to do this and offer something like this in these times. And I've never actually played online before like this, so this has been fun. And with the way that my webcam crops, you can't really see that I haven't had a haircut in a really long time either. I think we're all in the
Yeah, we're all in
no
this
haircut
together.
group. Um, so yeah, this has been fun. So I'm gonna play my last song for you guys. It's called Starlight, and it's my favorite song that I've written. And this is one where I really try to make people feel nostalgic when they hear this one, and sentimental. Every single chord really carefully chosen to kind of make some emotional response. And it's really interesting if a song can make you sentimental and nostalgic, but you've never heard that song before. What does that say about the song? What does that say about the chords? So here's Starlight in all its glory. Oh, that was Starlight, and oh, thank you. The resounding sound of Ocaria's echo chamber applause. Um,
It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
that means a lot to me. So I really appreciate doing this with all of you. I hope those of you who tuned in had fun. And I'm a local guitar teacher. You can read about me at gregtheguitarguy.com. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Oh, thank you so much. And on behalf of the Oceanside Library, we thank you for bringing us our first musical online program. So it's wonderful for the community. It's great on a Sunday afternoon just to listen to relaxing guitar music. And you're so talented and such a natural at storytelling. So we really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you so much.
Just to read some of the comments, Deb said, really terrific sound. Thank you for sharing your songs with us. Sabrina said, beautiful as always. Thanks for doing this, Greg. And may I just say, I miss the Oceanside Library very much. Oh, thank you, Sabrina. Barbara said, great Sunday. I agree. It was like a perfect jam session for a Sunday. Oh, thanks so much, Greg.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. And everyone stay happy, stay healthy.
Thank you. You too, Greg. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Sunday and their weekend. And remember to check the Oceanside Library website for our weekly programs. We have morning, afternoon, and evening programs for all ages. So make sure to check us out. Check out our calendar. And remember Earth Day on Wednesday. We've got a wonderful schedule of programming for you. And Greg, thank you one last time so much from the bottoms of our hearts. Really, this was a beautiful program.
Take care, Ocaria.
Thank you, Greg. Take care, everyone.
Bye.